How you doing, everybody? My name is Octavius LaVon Blount, and we're here with another Spotlight series. I'm the coordinator for the Mayor's Office of Black Male Engagement, and we're here with a dynamic brother. His name is Marcus Allen. He's going to talk to us about what he does, how he impacts men and boys of color in the city of Philadelphia, and also what piece of advice he can offer young black men in this city. So, Marcus, how you doing?
Man, I'm doing awesome.
Yeah.
Thanks for having me here.
I'm glad that you're allowed to come in. I'm glad you took time out your schedule to come in as well.
Yes.
If you want to just get right into it, I know you wear a big hat in this city, but if you take that hat off, what kind of person will people say you are?
I think, first of all, thank you for the compliment. Not that I think I know. I've my entire life, I've always worked to stay humble and modest, but at the same time have a loud voice when it comes to people who don't have as loud of a voice. And so I think, when you strip all of that away, the title and the branding and the reputation and all the things that people think they know about me, at the end of the day, I think, I would hope that people would say that he's genuine and he's authentic, right? Whether they like what I say, whether they like or don't like what I stand for, that at the end of the day, they know, like, if I say something, if I speak out on something, that my heart's into it. Now, I could be wrong, all right, and I've been wrong in the past, and I will probably be wrong in the future. But when my heart is into something, and I see what I believe is an injustice or unfairness, I speak out on it. And I think at the end of the day, that's what I want to be respected for. And I want to leave a legacy for my kids to be proud of.
Okay, I like that.
Yeah.
I like that you said leaving a legacy, because some brothers may not know what legacy means. They may not know how to leave one, but I'm glad that you did say that. Now with that big hat that we said that you wear, what does that entail as far as being the CEO of Big Brothers Big Sisters?
That's a good question, because I don't see my role as a CEO of Big Brothers Big Sisters as a job, even though I do get paid for it.
Yeah.
I take it a step further than a job, because a job is something that you go into. There's a set time you go in, a set time you leave.
Yep.
Right. And April 15th of this year will be 6 years that I've been in the job. And for me, this is more of a lifestyle.
Okay.
And so I live the same things I espouse from my 9 to 5 to my 5 to 9 in the morning, right? I'm on 24/7, right? There's not, you'll see me anytime, any day, any time of the year, and I'm on. I can be on vacation and I'm on. I was just in Mexico last year, me and my girlfriend, and I come back, I got my little Mai Tais in my hand, I'm feeling good, just got out of the pool, and she's sitting there talking to a woman from Chicago, and the woman is, and I guess my girlfriend had told her I was the CEO for Big Brothers Big Sisters. She said, "Oh, my husband would love to talk to you." Her husband comes over, long story short, his name is Derek, and he says, "Big Brothers Big Sisters saved my life." And they live in Chicago now, but he's from Germantown here in Philadelphia.
Okay.
Now we're in Mexico, and I meet this guy, and he goes to tell me how his big helped him get out of the hood, helped him get into a private school. That private school allowed him a platform to go to a really nice D1 school, and now he's one of the top executives at Deloitte, right?
Okay.
So here it is, I'm on my vacation, and I'm still working, right? And me and that guy, we are in communication on a frequent basis, and I'm going to bring him back to Philadelphia to speak at one of our events, right? And so for me, the big hat of Big Brothers Big Sisters, it pales in comparison to the other hat that I wear, which is being a servant leader.
Yes.
Right? And for me, Big Brothers Big Sisters is only a piece of that. And my purpose of being a servant leader allows me to easily fit into the label or the title or the role of running Big Brothers Big Sisters, because for me it's all aligned with what I've always worked on, and that has always been serving underserved people, and more recently with a specificity around young men of color and people of color. Because in my mind, that audience, that target group, is one of the most vulnerable groups in the country. And I don't want to sit around and just allow stuff to happen to people who look like me and not have a voice and not have a say-so in it. There have always been African American black leaders who have gone above and beyond. President Obama, Martin Luther King. We've always had black men and women who've done great things. But we also have always had a majority of us who are struggling. And so I think it's inherent upon myself and others to keep that at the forefront and to continue to fight as hard and as vigorously as we can to help as many as we can. And so that big hat, I really call my Big Brothers Big Sisters hat the small hat, because of all the other stuff that surrounds it.
Okay. Now I know you said you were in Mexico. You met Derek, Mr. Derek. I'm gonna call him Mr. Derek for now.
Mr. Robinson. Yep.
And I would say that everything happens for a reason. That experience for you happened for a reason. And I will also say that you're in this position for a reason. I know you said 6 years. I didn't know it was that long. But you were put in this position for a reason. And with that reason becomes the next question that I have. Being a black man in this position in Philadelphia, and also having young black men that may be on the waiting list, that may not have a mentor, that may have a mentor. How do you think you embody being a black man in a leadership position as a role model? Apologies.
Yeah, it's interesting, right? Because I feel like just yesterday I was sitting in the other seat looking for role models and mentors, right?
Okay.
And for whatever reason, I just turned 47 on Monday, and
Happy birthday.
Oh, thank you. But you still see the world, at least for me, through a child's lens. Right? I still see the world as when I was 12 years old.
Okay.
Right? And so sometimes it's awkward for me when people say, I see you as my role model, I see you as a mentor. And that is probably a compliment to some of my accomplishments in the public facing persona that I've created, right? But for me personally, I'm always trying to impress myself.
Okay.
Right. I'm always like saying, okay, and I'm in that 12-year-old mind frame, and I have opportunities and access to do stuff that no one in my family has ever had an opportunity to do.
Okay.
And so when I go out, when I dress, when I'm speaking at events, I'm always trying to impress that 12-year-old. Believe it or not, like I speak to the audience, and I'm just like, what does that 12-year-old need to hear?
Yeah.
Right. And just pulling those experiences from, my childhood, growing up poor, growing up homeless, not knowing my father, seeing a lot of violence, drugs. And I remember that kid saying, there's got to be a better way, right? And that voice was always in my head from at least, as far as I can remember, maybe going back to 5 or 6 years old. And so now the role model that I'm trying to create, and it's great that other people see it. It's great to, when I'm out and I see how, young black boys look at me when I got my suit on, right? And they're looking up to me, and I'm just like, that's the look I'm looking for, right? Because I know that sticks with those kids. Sometimes you don't even have to say anything. Just the presence alone. Just saying, okay, there's a black man who's confident, and you can tell he's going somewhere. I don't know where that man going, but he's going somewhere, right? Right?
Yeah.
And so, that is what I strive for each and every day. Okay. And I got 4 daughters, and I understand too that I want to be a role model for women and females, whether they're little kids or they're grown women, because too often too our women don't have male role models to look up to, right? And so, and which allows them to understand how they should be treated and understand where their expectations should be with men. So I think this mentoring piece and the role model piece, like, goes well beyond even our race. And like when white people approach me, right, it's in a different manner, right? And to see a black person or black child see how white people treat me and say, oh, well, I want to be treated like that, because they haven't seen that. They haven't experienced that.
Yeah.
And they don't even know that that's possible, right? I was on Oprah Winfrey show about 7-8 years ago. And I'm, Oprah's on the stage and she got her shoes off, like she comes out on the show with her shoes off. And so there's other people on the stage with us. And so Oprah's asking me questions and I'm answering her questions, right? And then after the show, right, I'm thinking, I feel good. I'm talking to Oprah, right? My mom calls me and she's like, and there was a white doctor on the show, a white businessman, someone who was a prominent white person. And my mom says to me, and mind you, my mom is awesome, down south, and she says, man, you talk to those white people like you know just as much as they know. And I thought about that for a second. I said, Mom, I just talked to the most powerful woman in the world who happens to be black.
Yeah.
And you're talking about how I was talking to this white man, right? That mentality exists in a lot of our people.
Yeah.
Right? That we feel like we're less than. And so at the end of the day, like the role model piece for me is to say, listen, this ain't just about being an upstanding black citizen in this country. This is about how do you stand up to the world, right? You don't just need to look good in the black community.
That's true.
You need to be respected in all communities. Right? And so when I went to Israel in April, right? When I travel across the country, when I'm in Israel meeting, going to the Knesset, which is our version of Congress here in the U.S., and I'm talking to their leadership, right? I look them dead in the eye just like I'm looking you in the eye. I don't care who you are,
Yeah.
right? Because at the end of the day, I know who I am. And that's what I want for our kids who see me, who I work with, who our other bigs are working with, right? For them to have that confidence.
Okay. Now, this
Sorry to be so long-winded.
Oh, it's fine. It's fine. You can talk as long as you want. But going off the piece of talking to that 12-year-old, impressing yourself. The last question I have for you today is, what piece of advice would you give young black men in order to navigate this world that we're in now? What 3 pieces of advice would you give them?
3 pieces of advice. One, I would say fight, like your life depended on it for a quality education.
Okay.
Right? Do not accept anything less, right? Because if you're not getting an education, and it's unfortunate that we have to put this on the kids too, because it's adults, it's our leaders who also should be fighting. But if I'm giving advice to a kid like I do to my daughter, I just say, well, what did you learn today in school? Right? Like, what didn't you learn that you felt like you should have learned? Because you have an opportunity now to go out and teach yourself, right? You got access to that phone, which has more information in it than what I ever had access to when I was growing up, right? You got the internet, you got all of this stuff, right? So do not accept anything less than a quality education, whether it's formally through school or it's through other programs or it's through yourself, right? Secondly, know your worth. Right? Know your value, right?
Yeah.
And make sure you don't allow other people to tell you what your value is.
Okay.
Right? I truly believe I graduated from a black college, and I meet a lot of my colleagues who graduated from Ivy League schools, and one time they asked me, why do you think it is that black people who graduated from Ivy League, from black colleges do just as well, if not better, than black people who graduate from black colleges? I said, well, I think they got the same books at both schools, right? Maybe Harvard got some better professors because of tenure or because of, overseas experience or whatever it is. I said, but at the end of the day, I think the secret sauce is at black colleges, they teach you to love who you are and to love your people. Yeah. And once you have that, all the knowledge in the world, right, can't take that away from you, right? And then you go out into the world and you have this confidence. So knowing your value, in my mind, is key. And then thirdly, which is a principle that I mostly lived, but I really understood it better about 10 years ago, which is build bridges. Like always, every day, think about how you can help other people, right? I read a book called The Go-Giver. You've heard of go-getters, people who just really work hard and try to achieve. Well, I believe the key to success is being a go-giver, right? Okay. How do you help people? how many people do you help? How many bridges do you build? And when you build those bridges, oftentimes those bridges lead back to you anyway. So there's a percentage of like how many people you help, you get a cut in that, right? You get a cut of the profits from how many people you help, whether that's monetary, whether that's social capital, whether that is just, goodwill, you get a cut of that, right? So why wouldn't I try to go out and help as many people as I can? If our kids can do those three things, right, the probability of them being successful is very high, right? And so that's what I think mentors help, in terms of, there are many things that mentors help kids with, but those three for me are very key. And there are three things that, frankly, if I didn't practice them, live those things, and was taught those things, I wouldn't be sitting here with you today. And so my hope is, as we go forward today and we talk to those young black men that you're talking to, that we can instill and impart and inspire in some way those young men to just follow some of this, right? Because sometimes it's hard to get, with all the noise that's happening, it's hard to get people to hear it. I hope that we can inspire those young men as well as others to make themselves better.
I want to thank you for actually coming in today, and especially providing those pieces of advice, because a lot of young men don't hear that.
Yeah.
A lot of young men that will be watching this video, and also the young men that you'll be meeting with, have not heard that. They've heard it from me. They may not like it coming from me all the time,
Right.
but maybe coming from another black man or another person of color will be helpful. But like I said, I want to thank you for coming in.
Absolutely. My brother.
I want to, hopefully we can check you out in another Spotlight series. You can check us out on Facebook and Instagram at OBMEPHL. Have a blessed day.